So a little about me. My name is Apurv Singh Gautam. I'm a security researcher. I started into threat intel and hunting 2 years back. Currently, I'm doing my master's in cybersecurity from Georgia Tech. This summer, I was a research intern at XCUC Berkeley. Again, doing research into threat intelligence towards dark web side. Some of my hobbies include gaming. I stream sometimes. I do hiking. I recently started into lockpicking, and I have been liking it so far. uh, Also, I love to contribute to the security community. It's like my passion contributing to it. So I do contribute to different local security meetup groups, or groups like Sabrari or Station X. So today we will talk about what dark web is, how you can access dark web, why you should hunt on the dark web, why is it important, what can you gain or what can you lose from hunting on the dark web. We will discuss basically different methods. We will discuss tool-based method and the human element that comes with it, or how you can get data from the dark web. Then we will discuss how you can automate this whole pipeline. We will discuss one example of how you can automate this, and we'll discuss the overall picture of what goes in, starting from your getting your data to analyzing and giving it to your managers. And we will discuss a little about OPSEC and why is it important to maintain OPSEC. So let's start with the introduction. So I am sure you must have seen this image a lot of time on the internet. So basically there are three parts to the web: that's surface web, deep web, and the dark web. So surface web, these are all the sites that includes that are indexed by your search engines. So that is Google, Bing. These are all the sites that you can directly go on Google and search and you will get it. Deep web, these are all the sites that are not indexed by search engine directly. So these can include any websites that are behind some kind of login system. For example, your college database where you check your results, or your server on DigitalOcean or Google, etc. Now coming to the dark web that we will talk about extensively in this talk. Dark web is a part of the web that you need some kind of special software to access. There are different sites, like different forums and marketplaces on the dark web where people sell different kinds of stuff that we'll talk about in the coming slides. Moving on, there are different organizations that offer their dark web systems. So some of them are Tor, I2P, ZeroNet, Freenet, etc. We will talk about Tor because that's the famous one and majority of the people use Tor. So basically why Tor or why dark web is is so famous, because it gives you kind of anonymization. So because your traffic goes through several nodes or several routers, so it is hard to figure out who is accessing what. And as you can see from the image itself, it takes different routes every time, and there are different systems involved. Also, the full form of Tor is the onion router. So the onion analogy here is the traffic or the packet. It has different layers. So it is and a lot goes into that layer, so I'm not going into too much detail about it. But just remember, it is very hard to determine who is accessing what because of those layers and different routes it takes every time. Basically the URL of Tor or URL of dark web, it's alphanumeric characters, and for Tor specifically it's either 16 character or 56 character, and it depends on the cryptographic algorithm used behind it, and it ends with .onion, or in case of I2B it ends with .I2B. So there are a lot of misconceptions about Tor or the dark web. The first thing is, many people think it's really vast, and the Tor or the dark web area is really big, but that's not the case. So if you think of different sites on the clear web, and if you compare different sites on the clear web and different sites on the dark web, then obviously clear web websites are available all the time. Like it's 24/7, but the dark websites, they are available sometimes, they are up sometimes, and sometimes they are not. Again, the second thing, whenever you talk about dark web with someone who doesn't know about it, then the first thing that strikes into their mind is it's placed only for cyber criminals. But that's not the case. It's many good people also go there. Many people like journalists and activists go there. to talk about different stuffs. And many people who don't want to be surveilled, they also go on the dark web, because there are different websites, for example, Facebook, Enva Times, and others that have their dark web counterpart also. So you can go there and use these services on the dark web itself. The third thing is, people think that it's illegal to access the dark web, but that's not the case. Obviously, it's illegal to indulge in illicit activities like selling drugs, selling exploits, trading exploits, but it is completely legal to access the dark web. So moving on, we will talk about why researchers go on the dark web is, there are different types of websites on the dark web. According to your organization's threat model, you can focus on different types of markets or different types of forums. So starting from general forums or general markets to credit card forums or insider threat forums. So just an example, if you're a bank, you would want to focus on dumb shops or credit card markets to see if your organization has been breached or someone is selling your debit card or credit cards online. This is just an example of different sites that are found on the dark web of different categories. Now it's so these are just a glimpse of how much these type of things cost on the dark web and how easy it is to get things on the dark web. So as you can see, SSN, it costs around $1, or credit card, you can get credit card with some amount already loaded or in under $20. So these type of things you can easily get on the dark web. And I'm sure you must have seen a lot of news that Zoom accounts are being sold on the dark web, or FB profiles are being sold on the dark web in the recent news. So they are sold. These are the types of listings that are there on the dark web. So actors or the users, they sell their services in this type. So these type of listings are on different forums. This is just an example of the average cost of what it average cost of one account for different types of services. And as you can see, the banking and financial, these are it costs higher, obviously. And again, this is just an example of brute forcing tools of how much it costs on for different markets. So coming to the part why you should hunt on the dark web, like what you are gaining. Also before that, what do you mean by threat hunting? So basically, it's proactively searching for cyber threats. What proactively means is you're searching for cyber threats before it even happens. So you're searching for things like TTPs, that's tactics, techniques, and procedures, or IOCs, different IOCs that can give you some glimpse of new attacks, or you can get to know about new attacks vectors. You basically search for logs or IOCs, or majority of the in this case, while searching on the dark web, it's most of the time normal text data that you have to analyze it later. And for this type of analysis, we require advanced some kind of analytics or machine learning or NLP based research. Most of the time, this threat hunting it's nothing. There's nothing concrete about it. So we don't have any. Most of the time, it goes with hypothesis. So we get one hypothesis, we approach it, and then we start looking at the hypothesis, and that's why it's iterative in this form. So coming to the dark web part, why you should care about threat hunting on the dark web is so as I told you before, there are a lot of hacker forums, markets, and dumb shops on the dark web. And like I showed you before, the listings. So actors, they sell their products, they trade their products, they communicate with each other they talk about new attacks, they talk about whom to attack next, they talk about new attack vectors, like what is going on in the market in the current times. And if you research correctly on the dark web, then you can identify these type of attack TTPs, or you can identify even actors that are talking about your organization, that are targeting you. And obviously you can identify any data breaches, or if someone is selling data on the dark web. Another thing to note is, if you're not researching on the dark web, then for example, if your organization is breached and your data is being sold on the dark web, So if you are researching on the dark web, and if you get to know about these things before, if you get to know about that someone is selling your data before, on the dark web, before it comes to the clear web and into the news, you can reduce a lot of impacts. So one of the indirect impacts that you can reduce is your reputation or your legal penalties, because you know beforehand that your data is being sold, then you can take any actions before it goes into public or into the news. On the similar hand, you can if you do research on the dark web correctly, you can obviously get to know new attack TTPs. You can prepare your socks in the similar way, because they are prepared to handle new attacks, and it obviously it reduces damage, and you can reduce risk to your organization better. Coming to the part where we talk about different methods. So I will talk about tool-based methods where you can use different tools to hunt on the dark web. And then we will talk about the human element that comes with it. So there are a lot of tools to get data from the dark web. And majority of the tools are obviously written in Python because it's easy to script in Python. But there are other tools also. Starting with the first tool, it's Sc0rpi. So Sc0rpi is basically a web crawling framework that has multi-threading capability. This is a really important tool because obviously if you are hunting on the dark web, you don't want manual intervention, you would want it to be automated, and Sc0rpi is the first step of that automation because of that multi-threading capability, and you don't have to do much to start it. Second is Tor. So obviously if you are accessing dark web, you need Tor. Onion scan is another great tool to identify whether a onion website is up or not, or different correlations between different onion websites. Coming to privacy, so basically you would always want to access dark web over some SOCKS proxy or over some VPN. Just for that added layer of protection. Also, sometimes your ISP might block your Tor nodes, so you would want obviously want SOCKS proxy over that Tor. So there are a lot of tools like Privoxy, tsocks, Polypo, which you can use to do this. Use SOCKS with Tor. I've been using Privoxy and it's been working fine, so that's why I wrote Privoxy here. But you can use any other tool also. And there are many other tools, like there are some search engines like Kilos, ROOTCON, and obviously there are many other tools. This is just a handful of tools that I've written and that I use in my day-to-day life. So moving on, going a little deep into Sc0rpi and how Sc0rpi works. So let me walk you through this. So you can think of everything that you see in this image as a different Python program. So think of Spider as a Python program, a pipeline as a Python program, middleware, downloader, scheduler, engine as a Python program. So starting with Spider is a program where you give your URL, .onion URL. It sends the request to the engine. Now engine is the Python program that manages every other Python program. Engine is where you have all the settings of the Sc0rpi, which we will talk about what settings means. Then engine sends the request to the scheduler. Scheduler is the part which manages the multi-threading. So it schedules each request and gives it to different threads, and you can tune this thread. I think it's starting from 8 to 32. Now scheduler, it sends back to the engine gives it to the middleware. Now middleware is the most important part because this is the part where your request goes through. This is the part where you have a proxy code and the login code. So by proxy code, I mean this is where you put your Tor IP or your Sc0rpi Privoxy IP, so that the request goes through that. And by login code, what I mean is majority of the websites on the dark web, they need login access. You need to register an account. So for that, so first you register an account, you get your login access, and then you put those codes into this. And the second thing to talk about is CAPTCHA. So majority of the time, the CAPTCHAs are text-based CAPTCHA on dark web. So you can use either Python OCR codes to bypass that, or you can use any third-party websites like Death by CAPTCHA or Anti-CAPTCHA, which I have used before to bypass CAPTCHA. So you put those codes also in this middleware. Now downloader just gets the HTML page from the dark web, and it sends back to your Spider. Now Spider, you have another function where you are, so basically once you get the HTML page, you want specific things from that. Either you want some table contents or you want some kind of a text data. So you get those HTML elements, and you so in Scrapy we call those items. So you are getting those into items, and then you send it to the item pipeline. Now item pipeline is the part where you have your database, or you can dump it into JSON, or you can dump it into any format, or you can use any database to store data into item pipelines. And uh, this is the whole process of how Scrapy works, and why it's really useful to use in this case. Moving on, this is the now we will talk about human element part. So HUMINT, or human intelligence, basically a form of intelligence where you use interpersonal contact rather than using some tool-based method or technical process. By interpersonal contact, I mean you are talking directly to the actor. You are involving yourself into the forums and markets, and engaging with the actors. You can think of this as a high-tech equivalent of an FBI agent going undercover and like infiltrating a criminal organization. So that's why this is not an easy task. A lot goes on here. Not everyone can do this, and you have to take you have to follow several steps to secure yourself. But if you're doing it correctly, if you're doing human intelligence correctly, you can identify a lot of things. For example, you can identify the intents of actors, why they are attacking or why they are targeting a particular organization. You can identify new attack vectors. You can identify what attackers are talking about in the form of TTPs, what kind of attacks they are talking about, what they are utilizing, what tools they are utilizing, what exploits they are using. And it can help your tool-based threat hunting in terms of either new attack discovery or post-attack investigation. By post-attack investigation, I mean, suppose your organization is breached and someone is selling your data on the dark web. So most of the time, these data, they either, I mean, not every actor sells the data correctly, like real data. Some of them do sell fake data. So you can activate your human intelligence, and he can, if he has that kind of relationship, he can go on the dark web and ask that actor whether the data is fake or real or similar. Now coming to the automation part, so how you can automate this your tool-based dark web hunting. And this is I will talk about just one example of how you can automate it. There are several other examples. So obviously, first of all, you have some kind of system, either physical, cloud, lab, VM, etc., which is isolated. You don't want your personal data on that, and you have to install relevant tool that we talked about to start your scraping. This is just example. This is just an example of automating this. There are a lot other ways you can automate this. In this image also, I will talk about this in detail. You can use different parts, different times. So starting with dark web links. So obviously you need some links, forum links, before starting your scraping. So you can write a simple script to get dark web links and the SOX proxies. Coming to the Scrapy setup. So Scrapy setup includes all the processes that you require to start your Scrapy. This includes everything starting from your putting your login code, putting your first of all going to the website, familiarizing yourself with the HTML architecture, because at the end you need HTML element from the HTML pages, and making an account on the dark web, making an account on that forum, and getting your captcha bypass system, getting your captcha bypass code in place. So this part is not entirely automated. Like you need to do some things manually, like going over through the HTML code and looking at the your HTML architecture, or how the page is structured. And then you do all the things, you set up the scraping, and then you start your scraping. So the crawler, parser, analyzer, these are all parts of the Sc0rpi. This like before what I told you about Sc0rpi, how Sc0rpi works, you can include all these things in Sc0rpi. So what crawler does is basically gets your HTML page. Parser, it analyzes the HTML and you get the HTML elements from it. And analyzer, you analyze the data and you put into the database. So what analyzing here means is, again, as I told you before, Sc0rpi is a multi-threading crawling framework. So you get a lot of data in a less time. So you may get you may get a lot of data that you don't need, based on your organization's threat model or based on your organization's requirement. So you need to analyze those data, and the best way to analyze, these are all text data. So as I told you before, threat hunting, we use different analytical or machine learning or NLP methods. So you can use you can design and train your NLP or ML model here to get the data that you want and filter out the data that you don't need, and then you store it into Elasticsearch and or other database, and also if you want, you can dump it into a JSON format. So this is just an example of how you can automate this. Obviously you can before so you can, another use case is you can first put into the Elasticsearch and then you can analyze it. So there are different methods how you can analyze the data, and it depends on you or your organization how you want to go through it. So moving on, now we'll talk about the overall picture. So here I talked about just how you can hunt on the data, but what about like I talked about threat modeling. So what do you mean by threat modeling, or what goes, how you start all this and how you end all this threat hunting? So here we'll talk about a little about threat intelligence lifecycle. So this is basically steps that you follow, starting from figuring out your assets, figuring out what you want to focus on, till after getting data and analyzing it and making reports. So first is direction. So here you identify different different dark web forums, you acquire access, you make accounts, etc. And then you start with your collection, you start your Sc0rpi, you start collecting data, you process data, you process your HTML elements, and you analyze using different NLP and machine learning techniques. And then you map those data into TTPs, or you make different reports on that, and you then give it to your managers or higher in the company. So this is just a crux of how you start, starting with the direction or starting with identifying dark web forums till your analysis part. So going more deep into this, starting with threat modeling. So threat modeling is basically the process of determining your assets in your organization, what you want to focus on, what you think of this as what actors or attackers can attack in your organization, what type of products they can attack, what type of things they can utilize to attack you, what kind of data they are after. So all these things include in threat modeling. So this is basically important because you want to focus on particular kind of forums that we talked about before. Like if you're a bank, you want to focus on dumb shops or marketplaces that sells credit cards. So these all things you identify in this step, and based on this you prioritize your risk, and you can use for example, you can use this pyramid of pain to prioritize things that you want to focus on in terms of determining what actors are behind. Or for example, if you are focusing on TTPs, then you can focus on that only and don't care about other things. Moving on, data collection processing. So you ideally you collect data from several sources, not just dark web, not just clear web. You also on the dark web, you collect data from different forums, not just one forum. On the clear web, there are a lot of places where you can hunt for these data. For example, Pagement, Twitter, Reddit, and Telegram. Telegram has been coming up recently because many actors, they are talking over Telegram also. So you can utilize all these data, and then it gives you more intelligence from it rather than using only one forum or one marketplace. Coming to the analysis part, so you can use, as I told you before, you can use different ML and LP techniques to analyze your data. This can include anything from social network analysis to classification of different forums or clustering of different forum types or different actors. So you can identify different actors from different forums, and you can use this based on your organization's threat model or based on your organizational requirement. I will talk a little about MITRE ATT&CK here. So MITRE ATT&CK, it's basically a knowledge base of adversary TTPs that's formed based on the real world observation. So once you get all these, once you analyze your data, if you have a right amount of data, you can identify TTPs and you can map it to MITRE ATT&CK. If you are hunting, if you have that right kind of data, not just basic text data, if you have proper text data, what I mean to say. Moving on, so now we'll talk about operation security, or what do you mean by OPSEC and why is it necessary to maintain OPSEC? So first of all, what do you mean by OPSEC? So operation security, it's the practice of hiding yourself online or disassociating your online self from your real self. So while monitoring, while doing dark web hunting, or while doing dark web monitoring, while doing your human intelligence stuff, you don't want actors to know who you are, or which organization you belong to, and you need them to think that you are you are another actor and you are not a researcher, and that's why you try to hide your information, any information that can correlate back to you. So this can start from anything, any basic thing, either from your name, email, etc. And at the end of the day, we are all humans, so we like to be seen knowledgeable, and which obviously leads to oversharing, bragging, etc. So that's why it is hard to maintain OPSEC, and you don't just think of OPSEC while you so basically you have to think of OPSEC beforehand, before doing all this stuff. And I will discuss a few steps that you can follow to maintain your OPSEC on the dark web. So starting with obviously you have some kind of system, you have some kind of isolated system that you are using to hunt on the dark web. So you should never store any personal information on that. You should obviously use socks and preferably VPN to access dark web, just for that added layer of protection. Again, as I told you before, it is a high-tech equivalent of an FBI agent going undercover. So he has some kind of persona, he has some kind of backstory. So you should have that persona and backstory for different forums. And if you have different accounts on single forum, then also you should have different personas, because the last thing you would want is to let any attacker know, let any actor or attacker know that you are not an actor, or you're a researcher, or you would not want to disclose any information about your organization or yourself. Again, for this, so if you're doing this for a long time and you have different personas, you might mix it, and obviously you don't want that. You don't want to mix your personas, so you should take extensive notes so that you don't mix your personas. One thing to talk about is, so for example, if you are on a Russian forum, and if you are in USA, you should always try to change the time zones, just for that added layer of just for that peace of mind, because you don't want actors to just think otherwise. Obviously there are many Russian people in US also, they can access dark web, they can access forums in Russia, but just for that added layer of protection, or added layer of peace of mind, that you are in Russia and you are accessing Russian forum. And on the similar note, there are different forums like Russian forum, German forum, and different other language forums. So you might want to, if you are doing this kind of stuff for your organization, then you might want to learn new language skills like Russia. So you might want to learn Russian language or German language, and so on. So that was it. We talked about what dark web is, how you can access dark web. we talked about different forums, marketplaces, what kind of products are being sold on the dark web. We looked at a few products and their prices, like how easy it is to get things from the dark web. We talked about threat hunting. What do you mean by threat hunting? Why we should hunt on the dark web, what you are gaining and what you are losing as an organization if you are not hunting on the dark web. We discussed about tools. So specifically, we discussed about Sc0rpi because it has that multi-threading capability already inbuilt, and it is very important to use Sc0rpi because you want to get as much data as you can in a less amount of time. We discussed about human intelligence, how human intelligence can bolster your tool-based threat hunting, and we discussed why you should use human intelligence, and it is not easy to use do human intelligence stuff. We discussed about automating part. I gave you one example of how you can automate your dark web hunting, and there are a lot of other examples also. You can utilize different things. You can think of anything to hunt on the dark, to automate this whole stuff. And we discussed about the overall picture, like how the hunting starts, like first starting from your data source gathering till your analysis and your report writing, etc. And then we discuss about operation security and why you should maintain operation security, and a few steps of how you can maintain operation security. Obviously, dark web threat hunting is hard, but it's worth the effort. If your organization doesn't have a dark web hunting team, then I would highly suggest to start with it. Start slowly, and you can see results from it. Always keep operation security in mind. Never like you should always have operation security in mind. You should not just go on and hunt on the dark web as it, and you should never do it alone. Always have someone with you, always have a team with you. And again, as I talked before, always look at more than one resource. Don't just focus on only one forum or only one marketplace. Also take data from ClearWeb and the dark web both, because you get when you combine these data, you get more intelligence out of this. And we talked a little about how you can use MITRE ATT&CK if you have that right kind of data, and you can get proper TTPs from that data. Then you can map it to MITRE ATT&CK and make good reports out of those. These are some of the resources that you can utilize to get data. You can utilize to learn more about dark web hunting. Some of the good ones are Recorded Future Insights, Unit 42, and Digital Shadows. They publish their white papers and blogs from time to time, so you can read about these stuffs. And with that, I hope you all like my presentation. If you have any questions, you can hit me up on Discord.